We are here at Fort Funston Beach, me and Archie's favorite dog-friendly beach in San Francisco, and it is a beautiful day today. After being in the city for a while now, I've come to realize what was so difficult about van life and reflecting on why it was so challenging for me and for a lot of people that pursue this lifestyle. I wanted to share just because when life gets complacent and, kind of too normal for me, I just think back and I go, but look at everything I do get and all the things that I don't need to worry about anymore. So I kind of spent the afternoon running a lot of errands, and though it's not necessarily a cakewalk, like I don't know why toothpaste has to be locked up behind bars and I have to wait for an attendant to open up toothpaste for me. But I realized that doing basic admin like health and wellness related tasks or getting items shipped is pretty challenging with the van. In my last stint, I found myself constantly having to come back to the Bay Area to go to a doctor's appointment or get some kind of health or prescription sent out to me. For me, my dental plan, I can only change my dentist really every 5 years because they only allow you to take x-rays every 5 years, and most dentists require x-rays to be taken before they take you on as a client. So I can't really, get my teeth cleaned every 3 months unless I come back to my dentist. So I skipped many cleanings and my teeth have suffered as a result. Another really big positive that I gained from returning back to normal life is some of my decisions can go on autopilot now. Like where I sleep every night and not having to worry about how much water I have left and if I can shower. My stress levels have significantly decreased since coming back to a city. I now have more mental capacity to focus on other things, pursue other ideas and projects because my mental bandwidth is just larger now. And though you can optimize and strategize and use like little hacks to make these decisions easier in van life, it's difficult when you're constantly in new places because you can't set up that routine. Now, I think people that live in one specific region or one neighborhood or a couple neighborhoods can definitely have a routine and set up regular sleeping spots that you just rotate through, have a dedicated shower gym that you go to, have your dedicated grocery store that you shop at, and that's a lot more feasible. But this brings me to the next point, which is living in a van in the city comes with a major downside that now you're sleeping on city streets. When I was sleeping in San Francisco, it was really hard to find quiet streets that were not in front of people's houses, like next to industrial areas, large roads with pull-offs that are big enough for the van. It gets loud at night. I had the worst sleeps. I'm a light sleeper, so even if I wear earplugs, the slightest, noise can wake me up. So it was really hard. The garbage trucks that come in at 4, 5, 6 in the morning and they're beeping, or any kind of maintenance that happens, like grass being mowed and street cleaning, that's another big one. And I don't necessarily want to research every time I change a street, hey, when is street cleaning? When are garbage trucks coming? Versus being out in nature, you have the best sleeps. Like, it is honestly some of the most refreshing sleep I've ever had. And I realized, hey, if I'm working full time and I need to be mentally sharp at my day job, because it does require a lot of mental energy and sharp focus, and am I making a sacrifice by, getting poor sleep? Another story I want to share is that some people don't like people who live in their vans. They are vehemently against the lifestyle. One time I was getting out of my van to shower at a Planet Fitness. I was passing through Vancouver, Washington, and this man screamed at me from his car, "Are you sleeping in your car?" That was my best impression of him. And I just said to him, "Oh, I'm just passing through." And then I walked into the Planet Fitness. he was not happy with me. One time I was parked in the middle of nowhere, like off of an airfield. It was a pull-off off the road. In the middle of the night, this motorcyclist pulled up right next to my van and just started revving his engine. And there were no other vans, it was just mine. There was no reason for him to be idling or being next to me when there's plenty of space all around. And there he was, just revving his engine, which contributed to not only poor sleep, but also allowed me to see that, yeah, some people really have a negative perception of van lifers. I was parked on National Forest land by LA, and it was legal. I wasn't breaking any rules. And at like, I think 5 in the morning or 4:30 in the morning, this car honked at my van as it was driving by. It kind of blared its horn like 4 or 5 times. And I looked out the window. There wasn't anyone else there. I was all by myself. There wasn't some kind of like altercation with this car and another car. He literally just drove by and just started honking his horn at my van. Coastal California towns are just not van friendly. But there are so many more stories of people who are supportive of the lifestyle. So it's not often that I get these negative interactions, but it's a bit of a scary situation when people are kind of being confrontational in that way, especially when I'm in the middle of nowhere, sometimes with no cell service and no one around who could help me if I was in trouble. The other thing that's really tough about it is it's awesome when everything's going well, and it really sucks when things like break, when things don't go well. Whether it's realizing your pee tank is full and you made it overflow by peeing in a full tank. The other things that could go wrong is you run out of water just when you really need it. I'm sure this can be fixed by having a really good water sensor, but yeah, mine was not visible at all times. And even so, it only showed quarter tank. I wouldn't know how much of that last quarter I had left, so it wasn't specific enough. You know, the other thing is when the battery breaks. So I remember I spent all of my time in Mount Rainier and the surrounding area without electricity. And I tried to troubleshoot it, but I actually needed to get a new inverter because that was the problem. It wasn't like the connections or anything like that. And that takes time to ship, and also meant I had to go and get the item. I couldn't charge anything, so I was constantly going into cafes and Starbucks to charge my devices, and it kind of really just put a damper on my trip. You'll see a lot of van lifers when their van breaks down, like the time when my tire separated and I had to go to an auto shop, and every time I have to explain to them, like, I live in my van, so can I sleep here while it's waiting to get fixed? And the timeline of it waiting to get fixed could be weeks sometimes, and that's your home. All right, we made it down to the water. I hope the sound comes out okay. If not, I will re-edit. The one thing that I will say is it is so hard when you not only live in a van, but you also live alone, to be sick in the van. Also, like being a woman too, like I get my period every month, and that's not a walk in the park in the van either. And so in the van, all of that is like 10 times worse, because when you're sick at home, you can take a hot shower that will give you momentary reprieve from your symptoms, and you can feel kind of okay for like half an hour or an hour before the symptoms start up again. In the van, you're not getting hot showers, and every single Planet Fitness shower I have been to, which is a lot by the way, has had the worst water pressure. Like, it is so weak and it like trickles. And not only that, a few of them also don't get very hot, so I don't get that relief. I didn't get sick often in the van, but when I was, it was torturous. And the last thing that was hard about van life, which I spoke to on my Oregon Coast video, if you haven't watched it already, there is a video about that. Oh gosh, Archie is rubbing on a dead crab. Okay, no. Is just the lack of stable community. And I think when you're constantly on the move and you're meeting other nomads that are also constantly on the move, or you're not, you're just moving around on your own, meeting people here and there, it could feel a little bit difficult to feel a really true deep bond with anybody. And I'm an introvert. I'm actually INFJ, but I'm kind of half extroverted, so I'm kind of like I/EFJ. But the INFJ side of me is not really content with shallow surface level bonds. Forming that deep connection, that foundation that one needs to sustain these friendships does take time. And for you to, feel like you earn their trust and be a reliable person in their life, you need multiple events and multiple situations that you can show up for them. And that's just not easy to do. And I know a lot of people can caravan, find a group of people to travel with that would pretty much essentially solve that problem. I unfortunately didn't have that opportunity to create a group like that. And it's just really hard in my age in general to make friends overall. So yeah, so I found that really challenging. Like, you see all these amazing places and you get to kind of talk to strangers about them. Like, you can watch that sunset with the couple next to you, but it's not quite the same as sharing those experiences with people you love. Even though I'm making this video to share what I found really challenging about van life, it's not to say that these are the reasons why I sold my van. This video is really just for me to reflect and to come to appreciate all the benefits I get from choosing this quote-unquote normal lifestyle, because to be honest, there's not a day that goes by where I wonder if I've made the wrong decision. And it's more a trade-off of desires I have and goals that I have rather than the lifestyle itself. I'm not sure if I want to get into the details yet in this video. Maybe that's something I can share in another video. Thank you all so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye. You have to climb so many stairs.